Okay.
Here we are.
I was just with Trista Crick, who I work with, BetQL, the Heat Check podcast. And I was telling her, I guess I was kind of lying because you're there. But I was like, you know, I have fill-in hosts, co-hosts. I was like, except for the first half of this one, I said, I'm rolling like mostly solo here. But she does her pod by herself all the time. Like her pod is solo.
That is interesting. Bill Burr does that too, right? Doesn't he do like solo pods? Which is, I mean, I'm a little interested to see. I know you're gonna do well if you had to sit up here and talk to yourself for an hour. It's not obviously that full length, but I'm interested to see.
The amazing thing is, I used to host solo radio shows on WIP all the time. Now there were callers. And it's funny too, like, because when I'm on something I'm passionate about, like Mike could just sit there for a while.
Oh yeah,
you know,
I've been there. Yeah. I've heard it.
So, but excited to have Keith on and talk a little. This will probably be the last thing. Well, we'll talk about it when he comes on. So, and here's another thing that we'll talk about. The Nets Sixers schedule came out.
Yeah.
Game 7, if it were to happen, is on my wife's birthday.
Oh.
I cannot do it.
Oof.
So the Sixers were eliminated in game 7 of the first round. There would be nobody there to do the podcast.
That is a good reason to root for there not being a game 7 in the first round against the Brooklyn Nets.
Against the Brooklyn Nets, for sure. All right, here we go. Welcome, everyone. The Rice to Ricky Sanchez podcast is proudly presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Sign up for DraftKings Sportsbook by using promo code RTRS and brought to you by MortgageCS. Become a MortgageCS Ricky VIP at mortgagecs.com/Ricky. Thank you for putting me on the other side there. I appreciate that. Big Barker Therapeutic Dog Beds. Get yours at bigbarker.com/Ricky. And Stateside Urban Craft Vodka, the official sponsor of the Corner 3 newsletter with Zoe. StatesideVodka.com. On the show today, what a week. No stress at all. No Sixers games, no late nights, no live Ricky to plan. Laid back. No Mike telling me that, you know, at minute 42, he's still got to talk about the 90 seconds Furkan played. We'll take a look at the MVP race and the results that are in so far, including a huge betrayal from a former teammate of Joel Embiid. We'll also look back at Live Ricky 5, which will premiere on YouTube this weekend. And we will look ahead to the Nets series with one of the 2 biggest Nets fans I know, one Keith McPherson from WFAN and host of the Talkin Nets podcast. YouTube subscriptions. We need 10,000 by 1 p.m. on Saturday, or CJ, gentleman right there, gets fired. We're at 9,415, which is further than I think CJ even thought we would get at this point. 600 in a week or 4 days or whatever is tough, but it is possible. So if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to save CJ. We have 2 autographed Live Ricky 5 posters left, and we have some of the Abby t-shirts remaining as well. We will put the link in this podcast description, as well as 2 days left to order the Coven shirt and the PJ Tucker shirt. And I did mention Stateside Urban Craft Vodka. I had my first drink in 40 days at Live Ricky 5. Had some regular Stateside vodka and Surfside, and have decided, I enjoyed it, of course. I'm only going to drink if there's not work the next day. So weekends, and if there's not work the next day. I was drinking too much, but Stateside, for me personally, best enjoyed on the weekend. We had all the Surfside flavors there. We had the iced tea and lemonade, the regular Surfside, the peach tea and lemonade, the lemonade and vodka. They're all amazing. As well, they have a Live Ricky 5 commemorative bottle with Live Ricky 5 engraved on one side and Victory Tour engraved on the other. Go to statesidevodka.com. You've got to be 21 to drink it. Without any further ado, Amos and the chef.
Larry, sweetie, the man is here.
Say the name. I say the name. I say the name. We were right, y'all. We were right.
were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We were right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. Say the name. Say the name.
Say the name. I say the name. I say the name, mama. Say the name.
Life's tricky Sanchez forever.
Got a little butterflies here doing it myself. Welcome to the Rights Ricky Sanchez podcast. I'm Spike Eskin with no Mike. Mike is gone until the second round. Gone, banished. Such a playoff motherfucker. He's not even hanging around for the first round. CJ there if I need him. Keith McPherson will join me later. We do have the co-host set for game 1 and game 2 of the Ricky. We will have guest co-hosts every game pod of the first round. Adam Lefko will join us on Saturday afternoon after game 1. And one Andrew Unterberger will join us Monday for game 2. So looking forward to AU and Lefko. I mentioned we'll get to Live Ricky 5. We'll get to Keith and talk about the Nets. But I want to start off and talk about the MVP race. You know, the toxic MVP race. Too toxic to even discuss. God forbid we debate the merits of who would win the MVP by talking good about one player and not quite as good as the other player. The first thing I'd like to get off my chest about this is that this is meaningful. It is meaningful. I have Sixers fans and fans of every other team telling me all that really matters is a championship. If we win the MVP, it's not going to mean anything without a championship. That is horseshit. It's horseshit. MVP means you were the best player in the NBA that year. Do you understand what that means? Like, it's not like there have been 4 Sixers MVPs in between the last time the Sixers went to the finals and now. An MVP happens just as rarely, basically, for the Sixers as it does a championship. The last MVP they had was Allen Iverson, which was when the Sixers went to the finals. An MVP for Joel Embiid specifically for us, specifically for him, specifically for this time, specifically with all the debate we've done over the last few years would be incredibly meaningful, even if the Sixers don't win the MVP. And any player who says that the MVP doesn't mean anything to him is either lying or sucks. I want my player to want to win the MVP. Do you think at any point LeBron would say, MVP doesn't mean anything to me? Or Michael Jordan was thrilled about like fucking Karl Malone or Charles Barkley winning the MVP over him? Absolutely not. Winners want to win everything. And I saw Joel Embiid, who said to Shams that MVP doesn't matter, which we know was 100% a lie. And he said to Rachel Nichols today that MVP does matter. Now, I think it's because he thinks he's going to win it, was why he said that. But I want it to matter to him. And my fear is now, actually, I'll start this with a voicemail because I'm still afraid of it, even though the returns are in so far. I got this voicemail from friend and former coworker Ike Reese. Now, this is a personal voicemail. This is not a voicemail that came into our voicemail line. And I didn't ask for Ike's permission. So I hope he's okay with it. I think he'll be okay with it. Oh, wait a minute. And for context, I got this the morning after Embiid scored 52 against the Celtics.
Bro, I don't even leave voice messages no more. I can't remember the last time I left a voice message. Hopefully you check it. But I'm leaving this voice message because I needed you to hear my voice when I said this and not in text. They may not take the fucking MVP trophy away from us. It's ours. It's ours. Trust the process.
Now you said that. I love Ike. Ike does not leave voicemails. Doesn't check voicemails either, by the way. I love Ike. But when I heard this, I was like, well, they're not going to take the MVP away from us. He got the MVP. That game against Boston, come on, Embiid's minus 1,000. Game against Boston. But then I started getting nervous because I heard Kevin Pelton on the Low Post podcast. And Pelton's like, I'm still voting for Jokic. And it came out, Zach Lowe wrote that he voted for Embiid, but Zach wasn't pushing back too hard. And even now, when I see the results, I feel like a vote for Jokic is something that people aren't going to advertise. Like, to be honest with you right now, I think people are scared. Now, what will probably happen is Giannis and Jokic will split the vote. But something new has happened. And our friend JJ Redick is the example of what new has happened. I call it the coward vote. The coward vote is a vote for Giannis. Giannis is a great player, debatably the best player in the NBA. He was not the MVP this year. The MVP, you can take all the numbers you want. You can compare minutes. You compare points per minute, and we'll get to that in a second. The MVP is just something you look at and say, this is who I think it is. It's a gut. It's like Hall of Fame. This is not Giannis's best season. Nobody talked about Giannis this year. The season's not about Giannis. Giannis is clearly not the MVP. But people are voting for Giannis, and we'll get to JJ in a second, get to Kevin O'Connor in a second, because they know they won't be criticized for it. I respect somebody who votes for Jokic more right now than somebody who votes for Giannis. Because at least somebody who votes for Jokic has the guts, has the balls to get criticized for who they really want to vote for. Any vote for Giannis is somebody who wanted to vote for Jokic and was scared of Kendrick Perkins making fun of him. Like, that's all it is. That's all it is. You never talked about Giannis. There's no way that a month ago you thought that Nikola Jokic was unquestionably the MVP, which is what most of these people were saying. And now a month later, after Giannis has done what? There's been a month ago to you, it was Jokic or Embiid, and now it's Giannis. It's because you're scared. And that's what brings us to smug loser, worst teammate in America, guy who shouldn't have a vote, JJ Redick. What a fucking coward this guy is. I've been telling you this guy sucks for 5 years. For 5 years, I've been telling you he sucks. So here's a guy, I'll get to this in a second. CJ, can you play the clip of JJ? And this is the clip that he put out on his dumb fucking podcast. Play it.
All three of these guys deserve an MVP this year. I think they've separated themselves from the rest of the NBA when we talk about MVP. Here's what I landed on. Number one, my MVP for this season was Giannis. Number 2 was Joel Embiid. Number 3 was Jokic. Number 4 was Tatum. And number 5 was Donovan Mitchell. The Giannis thing is interesting because I don't think he's going to win, but I think he's the MVP this season. And the more I thought about it and the more I tried to talk myself out of it, I just couldn't do it. He's the MVP. He's the best player on the best team. Best win percentage of all three of these guys. And it's interesting because I thought it was going to be hard for me to vote for him because of games played. And then Jokic ended up playing 69 games. Joel ended up playing 68 games. And Giannis played 63. They're all in the ballpark of each other. Per minute scoring, Giannis, number 1.
Pause it.
And I said...
Pause it for a second. So, to JJ... The games played at 69, 68, and 63 are all the same. But the per minute scoring, Giannis of 0.97 points per minute and Joel Embiid of 0.96, that is the backbreaker. You fucking loser. Continue.
This a couple weeks ago, 30, 10, and 5, over 50% shooting. Only Wilt has done that. And Giannis shot over 55. He's the first time in history he's ever done this. He had a historic season. 6 of the 7 previous...
Pause it. Okay, Giannis had 30, 10, and 5. Embiid had 33, 10, and 4.3. Not in the ballpark. Just to be clear, the games are in the fucking ballpark. Even though Jokic and Embiid played 5 more games than Giannis. Same ballpark. But one guy having 30, 10, and 5 is demonstrably better than the other guy having 33, 10, and 4. You fucking dork. Continue.
Times that a player has averaged 30, 10, and 5, they've won MVP.
Oh.
I don't think it'll be 7 out of 8, but for me, Giannis is the MVP. Joel's probably going to win this award. I don't buy the argument that he should win the award because the other 2 guys already have an MVP, and we can't look back at this time period and say, Joel never won one. I don't buy that. Either he deserves it or he doesn't. The reality is all 3 do. I just think Giannis deserves it a little bit more.
So why don't you buy this? Why don't you buy that argument? I was thinking.
Pause it for a second. This is one of my favorite parts because Tommy finally grows the balls to push back on JJ a little bit. And by the way, that's his job here, right? Like if JJ is going to go on his self-reflection rap, I didn't think I'd be able to talk myself out of it. If he's going to go on his self-reflection rap, Tommy's job here is to push back on JJ. Say why. Tell me why that doesn't mean anything to you. JJ looks at him like the smug prick that he is. Like, looks, how dare you question me? Continue.
This is the question I would have about this particular thing. You think about any awards, think about like the Oscars, think about anything like this. Narrative always comes into play. So like,
but it's my vote.
Okay,
narrative's not coming into play for my vote.
So narrative just doesn't matter to you.
No, it doesn't. Ultimately, I went back to this. Bill said this on Twitter, and I appreciate how he said it. And this is how I when I found out I had a vote, I said, this is how I'm going to look at it. It's a snapshot of the season. It's a snapshot of the season.
Oh, got it.
The snapshot of this season is the Bucks were the best team in the NBA this year.
Oh, is that the
snapshot? And Giannis dominated. Yep. The snapshot of the season is that the Philadelphia 76ers had a better winning percentage when Joel didn't play than when he did play.
So what does that mean?
Snapshot of the season is that Giannis, when he did play, the Bucks had close to a 75% win percentage.
That's enough.
The best win percentage.
I'm gonna fucking throw up. Here's, to me, the most disgraceful part of all of this is Joel Embiid made JJ Redick like half of his career earnings. Right? If it wasn't for Redick, if it wasn't for Embiid, JJ Redick's time here in Philadelphia wouldn't have been as valuable financially as it was. He also got him paid in New Orleans or wherever he went, and then who he quit on, like whatever afterwards. JJ Redick owes Joel Embiid, right? And I know this isn't something that should mean an MVP vote, but here's what I mean, because JJ Redick shouldn't even have an MVP vote anyway, is that if you, like every time there was a debate about MVP for James Harden and somebody asked Patrick Beverley would say, James Harden's MVP. James Harden's the MVP. If there was someone at that time, let's say PJ Tucker had retired, and they asked PJ Tucker, hey, who should be the MVP, James Harden and Russell Westbrook? PJ Tucker would be like, man, I played with that dude. That dude was dominant. That guy got me paid. He would say that in his head. And then he would tell you James Harden was the MVP. Any real teammate would care more about that relationship. The truth is, and here's the last thing I'll say about JJ Redick here, right now. The truth is that JJ Redick cares more about us not getting the better of him than he does about showing respect to Joel Embiid. That's why he's doing this. He's doing this because he doesn't want us to win. If you don't think he thinks about that, you're fucking crazy. He definitely thinks about it. He's listening to this right now somewhere. Probably not live, but recorded. There's no doubt he's hearing this, and he's heard every minute. And he knows if he voted for Embiid, we would say we got the better of him. And that means more to him than any relationship. It means more to him than being right. It means more than any of those things. It means more than 0.01 points per minute. You fucking dork. We got a couple of voicemails. We'll play them in a second, right after we talk about MortgageCS. Thank God for MortgageCS, because thanks to MortgageCS, Live Ricky 5 will be on YouTube, a YouTube premiere Saturday morning at 11 o'clock. You can watch it all the way up until the playoff game. Thank you, MortgageCS. We actually got the crowd to do the disclaimer at the end, so we'll do that as well. MortgageCS, CS stands for concierge service. They're taking care of you like a concierge does. MortgageCS is a mortgage broker, not a lender. They don't have the money. What they're doing is they're going to the banks and finding you the best rate. And not only that, they're going to explain the entire process for you so you understand the rate. Because the rate, when you Google the rate, that's not always the rate. There's other, it's fucking weird. I remember I've had 2 mortgages now, and it's very confusing. And having somebody like MortgageCS who is independent, so they don't have ties to any bank, they only care about you. They're only, what's the word I'm looking for? Their only responsibility is to you. They're local. They're responsive. They're there whenever you need them. And I trust them. Every Ricky listener who's gone to MortgageCS for a mortgage has said the same thing about them. Every single listener. has been incredibly positive about MortgageCS. Call or text Ben anytime. He is the CEO of MortgageCS, 267-391-7425, 267-391-7425, or go to mortgagecs.com/Ricky. Check Google, see all the 5-star reviews and growing. mortgagecs.com/Ricky, or call or text Ben at 267-391-7425. This advertisement is not a commitment to lend or extend credit. MortgageCS is an equal housing opportunity mortgage broker. All loans are subject to credit approval. Certain restrictions may apply. Company NMLS 1464766. Visit mortgagecs.com/Ricky for more information. We got a couple of voicemails. I was smiling listening to them this morning. 833 Lickface is the number.
Hey, Frank and Mike. This is Greg from Brooklyn. First time, long time. I'm calling with a question/apology to Spike, because on this whole JJ Redick thing that's been going on, I've been very much in the Mike camp, thinking Spike was way too out there. But after this nonsense today, where Redick clearly picks Giannis only because he can't pick Jokic because of his other nonsense. So how does he go and make this all about him? He picks Giannis when it's going to be a runaway vote. Him picking Giannis, not picking his old teammate, is obviously going to make news about him. So that's the only reason he did this. Spike, you've been right the whole time. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you. I know. I'm not right about a lot of things, but I am right about some things. 833 Lickface, we got this one too.
Hey, fellas, this is Nate calling in about my favorite subject. I'm talking about Disney Clay Travis, JJ Redick himself. He made the most JJ Redick move of all time. He ducked any type of controversy by voting for Giannis for MVP. Who gave this motherfucker a vote? And who are the constituencies he's trying to please with this middle ground vote? Like, is it blog boys? Is it, I'm not even going to say anything too offensive, but it is just typical JJ Redick. He's the fucking worst. What a cowardly vote. He's a fucking coward. He is a fucking smarmy coward. I'm done with him.
So far, I'm sorry, CJ, can you find the name of the guy who keeps track of the votes so far? Embiid is way ahead. We have the only vote for Giannis that I respect is Kendrick Perkins, because he said he voted for him basically because Embiid ducked Jokic. That's the most Kendrick. He's honest. Kendrick Perkins is being Kendrick Perkins. I respect that. Michael Pena, I don't know who he is. He works for The Ringer. I've never heard of him until now. I don't know who he is. At least he's saying it with his chest and voting for Jokic. So is Pelton. Bill Ryder, who works for me, who's actually an employee of mine, is voting for Giannis. I had lunch with him a couple weeks ago. I could tell in his eyes he doesn't like Joel. It's just me. That's what I'm saying. That's what I believe. And then the two other cowards, Chris Mannix and Kevin O'Connor, who's banned forever. He's double banned, triple banned, quadruple banned. KOC, you're a fucking coward. You came on this podcast and you told me Jokic's defense was good. And then 2 minutes later, you said that it wasn't good. So what is it? Is it good or is it not good? If Joel wins the MVP, hang on 1 second. Joel wins the MVP, we do a t-shirt with all the heroes who voted for him. If he doesn't, then we do the t-shirt with all the people who didn't. Who's the guy who keeps track of all the votes?
The list is being tracked by one Max Crows Fire on Twitter. And right now, Embiid has 24 first place votes. The next highest is 5. He's winning the total points by about 120. So,
did you know that 0.97 points per minute is over 0.96 is a disqualifying number? Fucking loser. I told you this whole time. Who wouldn't stand up for their teammate in this way? You care more about your flash in the pan media career. You suck, man. Everybody figured you out. Everybody knows. Everybody knows. Live Ricky 5 was Sunday. CJ, can you pop up for this one? I feel like this would be good. Live Ricky 5 was Sunday. It was a tremendous success. It's going to be on YouTube, thanks to MortgageCS. We're going to do a YouTube premiere, so we're all going to watch together. We'll all be in the chat together. 11 a.m. on Saturday. Please subscribe to YouTube right now so we can get to 10,000 before that point, but excited to watch it. It was a lot of work, as CJ knows, as he was deeply embroiled in the work. I think more than most people know, and it feels so good when it happened. I think looking back on it, like obviously B-Ball Paul was amazing.
Oh yeah.
Kate Scott's surprise performance was amazing.
Incredible.
Eliza Hardy-Jones and Charlie Hall from War on Drugs, they fucking nailed Imagine.
Yeah.
I mean, you will love watching this. This is probably the longest live Ricky ever. It's almost 2 hours, right?
Yeah.
It's really long.
Under.
I do a poem about Ben Simmons. We do the Process Hall of Fame induction speeches. Sixers Adams basketball, the air ball. It's a good one. We measure you. I gotta say though, my favorite part, Prez Carter recorded Coaches Become Sales Reps, the Doc Rivers diss track. Put it on Twitter and TikTok, Instagram. And we had him on when the song came out. And he was great when we had him on. So we invite him to do the song at Live Ricky 5. And I want to be clear. Kate Scott had no idea this was happening. B-Ball Paul had no idea this was happening. They were not in the room. The Doc Rivers song was just for us. What I loved about it was we invited Prez Carter to go to the sound check. And he was going to go to the sound check. He texted me early in the day. He's like, you know what? I don't need the sound check.
He didn't need it.
So I tell CJ, Prez isn't coming for the sound check. And CJ's nervous. He's like, how do we know he's going to be any good? He hasn't listened to the instrumental.
Yeah, I wanted him to know what specifically he was working with. So when he gets on stage, it's not a complete surprise of when he's coming in. But he freeballed it.
So not only, to be clear, not only did he not go to the what's it called? The sound check. I didn't even see him beforehand. I knew he was there. He had texted me, but by the time we were on stage, I had not seen him. I think he got there at like 7:30. We go on stage at 8. I got a text message from him around 7:30 or 7:45. Yo, I'm here. I was like, all right, we'll call you up when we're ready. And we call Prez Carter to the stage. And I almost missed him, by the way, because I was looking at my rundown wrong. I missed him. I made a mistake. I call him up. There's barely any monitor sound. Like, you don't hear a lot. I call him up. I give him the mic. And Prez Carter fucking slayed. He slayed.
It's interesting hearing you say that word too. That's
he did, right?
Yeah, he killed it. It was really good. So I've been editing the live Ricky 4 YouTube version. I mean, shout out to the video production team that shot it. It looks so good.
It looks so good.
I'm so excited for everyone to see it.
Truefold Media was who did it, and they had done Live Ricky 4, but I was showing CJ what Live Ricky 3 and Live Ricky 4 look like compared to this one. This one looks like it was made for video.
Yeah,
I mean, it looks and sounds so good. You're going to love it. Remember, subscribe on YouTube, but Saturday at 11, you're going to love it. Anyway, continue. You've been editing.
I've been editing it, so I've probably rewatched the entirety of Live Ricky twice or 3 times at this point. And every time I watch Prez's performance in full, because of like thinking about the situation leading up to it, of him not knowing exactly what was going to play. Like, obviously it's his song.
Yeah.
Like, he knows the beat, he wrote the lyrics, but in a performance sense, you need to know when you're going to come into the track.
Yep.
You don't know the audience as well. There was, thoughts of, okay, well, it's a seated crowd, so is that going to be awkward at all? Because people can't form a crowd or anything. But it didn't matter. He killed it. He captured the energy. He
crushed
great.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
And the crowd loved it. They knew all the lines. They knew the good lines too. So it'll be 11 o'clock on Saturday morning. It'll end right before tip-off. It's perfect. We're all going to be watching it in the chat. So we hope you enjoy it. And we'll have full thank yous on Saturday. But thank you to everybody who worked hard for us. It wasn't just the people on the stage. There were a ton of people behind the scenes who did everything. And a special thanks to Rich Stouffer and Underground Arts for just being an amazing partner in all of those things. So
yeah, another thing, when we have a credit scene at the end, and it's pretty incredible to see all the
number of people
that went into making this happen.
Yeah.
But also, it was great meeting everyone. If you were at Live Ricky, tons of people said hi. I was talking to a lot of people, and it was great meeting a lot of you for the first time. Really was an incredible night. So
Yeah, the list of names, like there's a lot of people. Okay, this one for this one for this one for this. Anyway, so before we get to Keith McPherson, the biggest Nets fan, it's either him or Evan. I don't know who's a bigger Nets fan. I'll have to ask Keith. And this is maybe, we'll get into this with Keith, Keith's last media appearance for a while, and we will get to that in a second. I want to talk about our friends at DraftKings Sportsbook. Ethan and Max from DraftKings were there. Ethan actually got me this hat from Japan. Great gift, and had his own homemade Coven t-shirt, which was fucking pretty psycho. Brought me one of those. I was looking at DraftKings. I hadn't looked at the odds yet, and the Sixers are 8-point favorites in game one. Look, if there's a game that I'm not super confident with the Sixers on, it is game one. Joel, after a week off, is probably put on like 25 pounds. Sixers 8 points favorites at DraftKings Sportsbook, and we'll have a same game parlay for you. I think I sent it to Max earlier. I think it's Sixers money line, Embiid over 31.5 points, Harden over 10.5 assists, and PJ Tucker 1 or more 3-pointers. I think that's what it is. DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NBA. New customers right now make a $5 pregame moneyline bet and get $150 in bonus bets with code RTRS. Plus, everyone, not just new customers, can score a no-sweat same-game parlay every day during the NBA playoffs. Open up the DraftKings Sportsbook app, place a same-game parlay bet on any NBA game. If your bet loses, they'll give you a bonus bet back in the amount of your initial bet. And, oh no, this was for Live Ricky 5, so that's gone. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Sign up with code RTRS. New customers can make a $5 pregame moneyline bet and score $150 in bonus bets if their team wins. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code RTRS. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details and state-specific gambling resources, or see show notes for details. Keith McPherson. There he is.
Hey, in there.
There he is, my guy.
What's up?
So Keith McPherson, I think Keith was like my first hire at WFAN. Most could have been. Keith does nights at WFAN in New York, the night host. Keith is also host of Talkin Nets. Keith is an enormous Brooklyn Nets fan. And something I hinted at earlier, I said this might be your last media appearance in a while. There it is, the fan. Keith is going to become a dad tomorrow for the first time. You got the drink?
Yeah, I got the whiskey neat. We're doing all the calls to family. My wife's been in the room calling every family member, preparing and going through that whole thing. So yeah, we're this close. Tomorrow morning I'll meet my son, and it's kind of crazy. I was just saying to my wife, the whole time I was envisioning like a panic, like it's happening, come home, you got to drive me to the hospital, we got to get everything ready. Nope, we got a little runway because we're doing the planned C-section, and now we just show up like a doctor's appointment, like we've been doing, like 11 a.m. tomorrow, we're ready to go.
A doctor's appointment, but you leave with another person.
Yeah, that's what I said on Perlov's show today. I'm like, we're going in with 2 people, leaving with 3, and I think we got to spend like 3 days there. So
okay,
here we go.
Well, we're all praying for you and your wife and your new son, and really happy for you, man. So
appreciate it. Thank you.
So, and a question: will you, like, as far as sports fandom? I don't have a kid. You're an enormous Yankee fan too. Do you indoctrinate your son and make him a Net fan? Do you give him the freedom to choose because it is New York where there's more than one team? How does that happen?
I'm not putting the burden on him.
Okay.
That's what this B stands for. It's a burden. I'm not putting that burden on him. And these kids are Warriors fans. These kids are Memphis Grizzlies fans. These kids, like, the NBA changes so much. One of my cousins is a Miami Heat fan, and I'm like, get out of here. But it makes sense for his age that he's a Miami Heat fan. So I'm not forcing the Nets on my son. Okay. I didn't even choose to be a Nets fan, really. I was a Bulls fan. And then when Jordan retired, I lived in New Jersey, and then Jason Kidd was here, and I've been rocking ever since. But no, I'm not putting that evil on my son. If he wants to be a bandwagon front runner with the best player in the league in 5 years, sure.
Okay. Now, before we get to this series, I was going to have to I'm sure you've done this already because I know you had Elliot on. can you just, I feel like a kinship with you. I feel like Sixers and Nets fans have a bit of a kinship, even though we had that trade, because you had to go through the Ben Simmons thing. So much so that we were talking about it at our live show on Sunday, and it had gone from my mind that he was even on the team. So can you give your just sort of like, you don't have to go super deep, but your Cliff's Notes experience, Ben Simmons experience?
He should be on Sacramento. They should have sent him to the Kings. I hate that Sean Marks was dumb enough to be the only GM in basketball that actually stayed on the phone with Daryl Morey. And Daryl Morey told him, stay on the phone, and he did. And they were able to finesse the Nets into taking Ben Simmons. You and I have had conversations about this as it was happening.
Yeah.
Carton and Roberts, I'll never forget, because I was sitting outside of WFAN listening to Carton and Roberts as soon as that first story broke about a James Harden trade. And I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to go for it. We just got Harden. Harden was talking about signing an extension here. We're not breaking up the big three. They called me upstairs to join the show, and they asked, and the first thing I said was, do not accept the trade with Ben Simmons. He's a baby. He's a headache. He can't play here. Those are my three things. He's a baby. He's not going to be a man about this. And I know there's mental health issues, there's physical health issues, but I just think this dude is a big baby. He's not going to be able to play here. This is New York. The Brooklyn Nets fans started to boo him after 4 games.
What?
He started getting boos in Barclays Center.
You know what I said?
4 games because he wouldn't shoot the ball.
What's amazing is Sixers fans never booed him. As crazy as Philadelphia is, I think what happened with Brooklyn fans is they went through everything that the Sixers fans went through with Ben, just like compressed. We had 4 years of it. The Nets fans went through all of it in like 4 months. And so it turned, when it turned pretty hard. They're like, oh, wait a minute, we've heard this before. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
The Nets did the whole song and dance with us because when he came here last year, they played like he was going to join the team to face the Celtics in the playoffs. So Nets fans kept buying into it. In the summer, they're showing clips of Ben Simmons passing, shooting jumpers. We're buying into it. We get into this season and he's playing, but he's giving you, 6, 4, and 4. And he's getting open looks and he's always deferring. So a lot of us were quickly like, no, this isn't going to work. There's still some Nets fans like, don't give up on Ben next year. And I'm like, no, there is no next year. This guy's never going to work here. His career is over. And the Nets were the only team dumb enough to give up James Harden and Paul Millsap. But even I would have forced James Harden. I would have forced him to stay or to just, he quit on the team, forced him to not play or whatever it is before I took on that max contract that Ben Simmons has.
Was obviously, it was a long time ago. It wasn't even that long ago, a few years ago. But obviously, there was a lot of excitement. There had to be as a Nets fan when they get Durant and then they get Kyrie and then they get Harden. Was there, though, a sense of relief when that was over? Like when KD was finally traded and Kyrie was finally traded and you were back to like a different version of the same thing that was there before they got KD. Was there relief as a Nets fan?
There was never a more exciting time outside of getting to the NBA Finals, going on the runs that Jason Kidd and those guys did in 2002, 2003. There was never a more exciting time. Maybe getting Vince Carter. Right. But when KD and Kyrie, when that whole thing happened, I was in London for the London series. I remember packing my Vince Carter jersey. And I wasn't really buying into the Nets teams that were here before with Darren Williams and Joe Johnson and Brooke Lopez and some of those other guys. I had a Darren Williams jersey, but I quickly discarded that. I always would rock my Vince Carter jersey. And when that happened, I'm in London. There's like a 8-hour time difference. People aren't understanding my reaction. My family, friends, people I'm with, I'm like, this is the biggest moment in Nets history. We're a team that no one wants to come to. So much so that they moved the team out of the Meadowlands to Brooklyn for greener pastures to try and make it a more attractive place for players to come. No one chooses us. And these guys are choosing to come here and play for us. It's time. But, man, we didn't know what we were getting into. It was a cautionary tale for the entire league. I was just telling somebody at WFAN I was talking to, I was like, this is the end of that superstar route, team up, organizations giving their whole organization to a couple players and letting them play GM, because it came with a ton of expectations and not enough return. And then it also came with a ton of media coverage and outside national coverage, different than our local coverage. And then the stand culture coming into, like, there aren't that many Nets fans, right? That's what they say. There aren't that many Nets fans. There's more now. But like what we saw was our fan base build with guys that specifically rooted for Kyrie, KD, that just like them, and they were filtered out. It was a relief. And I'll say that before we talk about this team now and this matchup, what Nets fans for the most part feel now is this is a team we can get behind. This is a team we can root for. This is actually like a reset to before KD and Kyrie when we faced the Sixers, and the same type of thing. It's like almost like a deja vu. Time is a flat circle, right? This is a team that fits the culture more, the fan base more. We couldn't get into all of the nonsense with Kyrie, and I don't have to go through it. You all know that he's full of nonsense. And then KD was never healthy. He sat out his first year here, and everybody's like, oh, it's worth it. It's worth it. He was hurt every season and then forced his way out. So it's a relief. It's like getting out of a bad relationship. Like maybe you dated this hot girl and it looked cool for people on the outside to be like, oh, your girl is a 10. But, you know, behind closed doors, and obviously this wasn't behind closed doors, anywhere else, you're like, she's a headache. She stresses me out. She hits me.
Yeah, she's hot, but she hates Jews and she thinks the earth is flat.
Yeah. So like I'm ready to part ways with her, and I don't care who her replacement is. Just give me someone normal, someone regular, someone sane.
Right. So obviously, like, there is an extraordinary Philly connection to Mikal Bridges. Not only playing for Villanova, his mom working for the Sixers, them drafting him and then trading him on draft night for an extra first-round pick and Zaire Smith. Then they take the extra first-round pick and trade it for Tobias Harris and give him $40 million a year. So it's nice to see him doing well. But so there's Suns version of Mikal Bridges, who's like 3-and-D guy. And then there's like Nets version of Mikal Bridges, who seems to be going off. The truth is, like, the optimal version is probably somewhere in between. I guess, what have you seen watching him, and, you know, like, which end of the spectrum of that version of him do you think is best for him?
I love that we're getting Brooklyn Bridges. I didn't know he had so much in his bag. That's what I'll give to him. He can score at every level. He can create a shot when it looks like there's no shot there. He's finding a way to get a layup or a mid-range shot off. I love though. I just saw the story of him talking about how mad he was that night. I mean, I think we all watched that draft and remember that was like a story of the draft, right? His mom worked for the Sixers. He's a local kid coming from Villanova. They draft him and trade him, but I didn't know how mad he was about it. He said, you know, he stayed in his room and didn't go out and celebrate the biggest day of his life because he wanted to be a Sixer. But when I saw him with the Suns as a role player, I swear to you, I remember seeing when we played the Suns, I forget, maybe it was earlier this year, they flashed how many consecutive games he played. And as a Nets fan, I'm like, that's the kind of guy we need, because these guys don't play. These guys are hurt. Every night it's somebody else out of the lineup for some other reason. I'm like, I need a guy that I can count on. Did I know that he was going to be in the deal? No. And when he comes over here, he keeps that streak going. He plays 83 games, and he becomes a better version of himself because there's really nobody on the team for him to defer to.
Right.
He's going to give it up to Spencer Dinwiddie. No, Spencer Dinwiddie's giving it to him. He might give it to Cam Johnson. That's his boy. But, man, the version of him that we're getting as the scorer, the version of him that we're getting as I can go for 30 almost every night and I'm going to play, I like it a lot. And I think he's going to be the focal point. I think he's going to be a star in Brooklyn. Maybe they bring another star, but I think he's going to build on that. And I think he tapped into something because Cam Johnson was out in the beginning of the year. Devin Booker was out in the beginning of the year, and they were relying on him to score more. So he started doing that in Phoenix. He comes to Brooklyn, and it's green light. So I love the version of the guy that we've got now, and I think he's only going to grow and get better.
Keith, we have to take a quick break so I can talk about. Now, Keith is a cat guy. Luna's your cat. Is that your first pet ever?
My first animal ever that I've lived with to ever take care of. It is a wild experience for me because I was allergic to animals. We lived in a small apartment. We weren't allowed to have animals. And I literally have apologized to some of my friends and their dogs and how they treat their animals, because I'm like, I didn't know. How could I know? I didn't know what it was like.
My first pet was my cat Alabama, who passed away last year. May she rest in peace. But I understand that. I think for like a dude your age, out and about as much as you are, the cat is like the good entry point for a pet, like a good entry point.
Yeah, when I'm coming home at 2:45 in the morning, as soon as my keys are in the door, I hear her bell. She's coming to greet me. I'm like, this is different. My wife has been passed out. I got a little companion. She'll cuddle up on the couch and watch SportsCenter with me. I'm like, I had no visions of this ever happening.
Now, your cat can sleep on a big barker, but a big barker is designed for dogs. Go to bigbarker.com/Ricky. bigbarker.com/Ricky. The reason you want to go there to get your big barker is because if you go to bigbarker.com/Ricky, first of all, I think there's a picture of me and Rebel there on the big barker, but you get 2 processed pup patches. You iron one on the cover for the big barker. You do whatever you want with the other one. You put that on the big barker too. I always say, put it on your jean jacket. We got 2 new processed pups today from Sean. Marla and Willie share a big barker and have a higher combined PER as a duo than Joe and James when it comes to barking at the neighbors and chasing squirrels. Their version of the pick and roll is Willie stealing pens off his working from home mom's desk when nobody's looking and throwing them to Marla to destroy. The difference between the big barker and every other dog bed is everything. It's literally everything, because a dog bed that you buy in a store, pet store, you see on Instagram or something, you're like, oh, it looks so fluffy. It looks so comfortable, but it looks like a pillow. You don't want to sleep on a pillow. You want to sleep on a mattress, because a pillow is not going to support you. A mattress will. Big Barker is a mattress engineered by experts to support your dog's joints. Your dog's young. You want your dog to be springy forever. Your dog's getting older. Arthritis starts to creep in. Having a real mattress will make a huge difference. They did a study at Penn Vet, showed all of these things to be true with the Big Barker. There's tiny Big Barker, the Barker Jr. for your tiny dog, all the way up to the extra large for a dog like that's 150 pounds. You go and you look at the pictures, you can see the difference. 10-year warranty. The foam doesn't flatten or they replace it for free. 1-year at-home trial. Try it for a full year. If you don't like it, they will give you a full refund and pay for the shipping. It's handmade in the USA. Big Barker dog beds. That's where Mike usually barks, but there's no Mike. You have a bark in you? You have a rough, Keith?
Maybe bark in me?
Yeah. Do you got like a woof or something? There you go. So the guy on the Nets currently that I like watching the most, because I've watched a lot of Nets this year because FAN is the flagship station of the Nets, is Nick Claxton, who's taken about, I don't know if he gets mentioned for most improved player, but he definitely deserves to be. I think my question for you is, I think about the size of Claxton and I think about the size of Embiid. And I just see this as one of these situations where he's got 2 fouls in the first 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. How do you think they defend Embiid, and how do you think Claxton plays it? And do you think there's anything he can do to sort of like make up for that size difference?
There were Nets fans that told me we got Ben Simmons to guard Embiid. I don't know. I'm kidding. But I'm not kidding. There's Nets fans that like a couple weeks ago, Ben's going to come back. He'll guard Embiid. He'll lock down Embiid. Okay. Nick Claxton, I think off of the amount of times that he's faced Embiid, I think off of the amount of experience he gained this year, if we go back to last year, coming into the season, Nick Claxton was the starting 5, and they were ready to give him, that role. Like Jared Allen is out of here, and Day'Ron Sharpe, who we drafted, is not ready. They didn't go get another big. I mean, we ended up getting Andre Drummond out of the Ben Simmons deal for a little bit, but last year, Claxton was not ready to be an everyday player. He was not ready to be a starter. He was out of shape. He got sick a few times. Word was that he was out partying and doing other things with James Harden and some other characters. Last year was a wasted season for Nick Claxton, and it ended with him choking at the free throw line in the Celtics series. Well, that was good motivation for the guy. He used to have long hair like me. He cut his hair off. He worked on his free throws, and really also, I think, worked on his game, his offensive game. Like, he's got things in his bag that I've seen this year that he's never done before. Like, I saw him hit a mid-range jump shot this year. I was like, where is that? So in this matchup with Embiid, as soon as the game ended Sunday, he posted something that just said, it's time. I think this is a young man that's hungry, that's looking for respect, that was in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year when Katie and Kyrie were on the team. And then once the national spotlight goes away, they kind of forgot about him. But it's proving time for him. He knows I'm going up against the MVP. If I have a good series against the MVP, even if we lose that series, it's going to put me on a different level nationally in the NBA conversations. And the Nets are definitely going to run me my money and have to pay me. So I'm looking forward to seeing young Clax on the main stage versus Embiid, who I don't think he fears Embiid at all. This whole series is going to depend on what the officiating's like. Do we know the officiating crew yet?
No, I'm not. So as the Ricky listeners know, I'm not a ref guy.
No one is. They're trash. They're
I don't even complain about the refs. To me, no one's ever lost a championship because the refs weren't fair. So I don't even know. And so, yeah, I guess that's a good point. Yeah, I don't know. Well, so let me ask you this then. Explain to me how if we look back on this and the Nets beat the Sixers in 6 or 7 games, how did that happen? Like, tell me what
Embiid missed a game or 2. It all hinges around Embiid. I was just on a podcast with Elliot and those guys, and Elliot came in super confident. He doesn't expect the Sixers to lose a game. He expects a sweep. And I'm like, are you taking us that lightly because it's not Kevin Durant and Kyrie? I'm like, I know the national media left us for dead, but they are the 6th seed. They did win some games after the trade deadline. How? I don't know. I think it's this. Someone's got to come up super small. Like if Harden comes up super small or Tyrese Maxey comes up super small, and they're gonna get to the point in this series where they know Embiid's probably gonna average 30. Just don't want him going for 50. Yeah. Someone else has to beat the Brooklyn Nets, and the Brooklyn Nets have so many guys that can shoot, that can defend, that can create their own shot. You really can't just lock in and focus on stopping Mikal Bridges. Okay, do that. And then Nick Claxton and Spencer Dinwiddie and Cam Johnson and Dorian Finney-Smith and Royce O'Neal and the rest of these guys are going to chuck up threes. Joe Harris, don't let him get hot. They'll be able to make up for it if, I don't know if Thibault or somebody can lock up Bridges. I don't see anyone.
No, we don't have him anymore. He's gone.
Who's even who's your defensive guy?
Jalen McDaniels, PJ Tucker.
And where did Thibault go? I always think of him as your defensive.
Nah, it was the Thibault trade got us Jalen McDaniels.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't see anybody locking up Bridges, and it's going to come down to somebody on the Sixers coming up small. Sixers fans, get ready to blame Maxey or I don't know Tobias Harris. Is he still on the team?
Yeah, he is. So I guess. I don't think the Sixers haven't swept anybody in the Embiid era. The closest they came was the 5-game series against the Nets. And was it 5 against Miami? Maybe 2. Against the Nets was when we had the Greg Monroe game, which I was at, which was amazing. When Greg Monroe started a playoff game after we signed him like a week before. Looking forward, I guess, after this year, do you see, are the Nets a team who go all in and try to trade for somebody in the offseason? Do they let this sort of marinate a little while? What do you think the future is for them?
No, they're ahead of schedule, and they got back so many picks that they better trade one of those picks, 2 of those picks to try and get someone else. It's clear that, this team needs another star. Bridges is a star, but he's not really that level of star yet. And I always say that the Nets made the first trade, the Kyrie trade, for KD staying with the Nets. And then when KD was like, hey, I requested a trade in the summer, I want out too. They're like, oh, well, we traded for pieces to complement you. Now we got to add the best players we can add from Phoenix without you there. So Bridges, in theory, Bridges and Dinwiddie were never supposed to be on this team together. I think that, there's going to be some guys that they part ways with, and they do try and bring in. I don't think they're going to bring in Trae Young or Damian Lillard or Luka or some of these other ridiculous names that Nets fans throw out there and dream of, but they definitely could use another guy, maybe an actual point guard. Spencer Dinwiddie, I don't think is going to be the long-term answer, and I don't think he is really a point guard. I don't know. In Marks we trust, we used to say, but trust circle got broken in the last couple of years.
Well, I appreciate you coming on, man. We all the entire Rights to Ricky Sanchez community, and then me as your friend and coworker, we all wish you and your family lots of luck tomorrow. Not
Thank
so
you.
much luck on Saturday at 1, but tomorrow, plenty of luck.
Well, don't let us get that first game. That's it. Win that first game, and they say like the series doesn't start until the home team loses a game, and I think if the series starts, if the Nets can go in there and steal a game, there's going to be Nets fans in Wells Fargo Center. They're planning a trip down. I know they say there's no Nets fans, but you'll hear that Brooklyn. You'll hear that in the arena. And yeah, I know they've got the MVP. They've got a former MVP. They've got Doc Rivers. And this is a series that they should get out of in 4 or 5 games in theory. But the Nets, I think, have some guys that are hungry and could potentially make it a series. And that's what you want. You want entertaining games, and you want this to go 6 games. You want this to go maybe even 7. But as a Nets fan, I don't think any real Nets fan expects these guys to win this series. We're playing with house money, and we're just hoping for competitive basketball. We've seen them get swept out of the bubble by the Raptors. We saw KD and Kyrie get swept by the Celtics last year. We're just hoping for, literally, again, deja vu. We got the gentleman sweep from Philly in 2018, 2019. I think we'll sign up. I think every Nets fan would sign up for one of those right now and say, good season, all things considered.
Yeah. Well, good luck. I appreciate you coming on, man.
Thanks, Spike. Thanks, Rights to Ricky Sanchez. What are you guys? You guys have a name for your group, right?
Lunatics? No, there's no special name.
That's what I call my cat.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on.
All right. See you
later.
Man.
Nets World. Brooklyn.
All right. Get the fuck out of here. So we'll do a couple of voicemails and emails. Thank you to Keith. Keith is funny, man. When I moved to New York and I was looking for talent for WFAN, I was like, I'll go on Twitter. And I heard this podcast he was doing for John Boy called Pinstripe Strong. And it was Keith, Joe's McFly, Chris McFly, I think. Joe's is still with, I think they still do Pinstripe Strong, but Joe's is still with John Boy. And Keith had never done a radio show before. Never. And we put him on for a tryout shift. I think he did like 3 hours. And then several months later, I asked him if he was interested in nights at WFAN. And it's 5 hours by yourself, 7 p.m. to 12 a.m. by yourself. CJ can tell you, I was just nervous doing 20 minutes by myself on the podcast. And Keith, who had never done a radio show before, was like, yeah, I'd love to do something like that. So that's how I knew I had somebody good. So good luck, Keith. Why don't we get a few voicemails and a couple of emails and then get out of here. 833 Lickface is the voicemail number.
I was listening to Kevin Pelton on the Zach Lowe post, and he was arguing that one of the main metrics for Jokic's MVP case is the fact that he has a below average turnover rate or some bullshit like that, which obviously leads to the question, if you could choose one celebrity, it could be Jennifer Aniston, to just slap the living piss out of your Kevin Peltons, your Zach Lowe's at times, your ringer fucks, who would you want to watch just sit there for an hour and just backhand the shit out of those beat writers? All right. Thanks, guys. Happy Sunday. Happy Easter.
What a great call. Because Kevin Pelton said that one of the key things for Jokic is his low turnover rate, which obviously begs the question, which celebrity would you like to see slap the shit out of him? And then his first suggestion is Jennifer Aniston. How do I even top that? Of course it's Jennifer Aniston. I don't think I can come up with anybody better than Jennifer Aniston. Howie Mandel might be good. I don't know. Jennifer Aniston, I think, is the one. So I don't want to come up with somebody different because I feel like that would be a video that would live on the internet forever. 833 Lickface is the voicemail number.
All right. Spike, Mike, CJ, how we doing? Long-time listener, long-time caller. Basketball question is kind of an observation into a question, but after watching the Hawks game and kind of seeing the semblance of I don't want to say normal team, but just, a Miami, a Atlanta, a Toronto, a team that just employs guards, forwards, Do you prefer that? And obviously, again, I love Embiid just as much as the next guy. Got his jersey, taking that big man out of things and having a somewhat normal looking team. Is that not awesome for a day? Obviously, it's a one-time thing. It's a weird situation, but still absolutely fantastic to just watch a team run up and down the court, like have normal looking people. And, you know, we still got our funky shit, but we're in Philadelphia. Non-basketball question. I don't have anything. So.
Okay. So I agree and I disagree. I think one thing that has been shown over the last several years in the NBA is I think we have a fetish for those sorts of teams. For Toronto's, Atlanta's, all these teams with tons of guys who are 6'7", 6'8". You know, this year, Portland, sort of that team, the Clippers, all these teams that have all these guys, none of them are any good. I think one thing that we learned is that for a league that supposedly had, like, that the center was a dead position, right? The NBA was supposed to be this, I don't want to get into the positionless league thing, but it was supposed to be where everybody's a small forward, right? Everybody can do everything. And here we have MVP candidate favorite Joel Embiid, MVP runner-up Nikola Jokic, who was at 1-2. He's not the best player on the Bucks, but Brook Lopez is very much a center and very important to the Bucks, incredibly important to the Bucks. Like, that defense doesn't work without Brook Lopez. You know, the Suns had DeAndre Ayton, who is definitely a center. I'm just trying to think of the other leading teams in the NBA. I guess the Kings don't have a typical center. Who's the 2 seed? Oh, Memphis, who had Steven Adams all year. You need a center. Like, I just think you need a center. I don't think you can have one of these teams like it. Now Atlanta has Capella, but Toronto just has never, the last 2 years, as much as we give Nick Nurse credit and as much as we look at that team and think there's tons of players we'd like to have, I don't think it works the same way. I think our problem is we never have any of those players. So we think a team full of those players is awesome, but I don't think it's aside from Boston, you can make the argument, but Boston has 2 centers on its roster, right? Rob Williams and Al Horford. Writes to RickySanchez@gmail.com. This came from Jay. Live Ricky 5 was awesome. Thank you for putting together a killer event that had us all laughing and cheering all night. B-Ball Paul was the best, but we got to get that dude to stop doubting himself. Did you see his quote after Sunday afternoon's game? I think for me, I just eliminated all the mental mistakes in the game, and that helped build trust from the coaches. And I feel like defending and finishing around the rim are things I've always been good at. So for me, it was just eliminating all the mental mistakes during the game and building trust. That's what helped solidify my position, if it is solidified. If it is solidified, it's game 82. You just had a dominant double-double and were the guest honor at Live Ricky. Your position is solidified, man. And we love you, even though you lied to Mike about the name not factoring in going to DePaul. Now go fill 9 minutes a game for Joel at -3 or better and win us a championship. He is scared to death. You can see it even in the non-Embiid games, that he doesn't go. Scared to death is the wrong thing. He is conscious of the coaches watching him, and he's conscious of not betraying their trust and continuing to get the minutes that he's been getting. And I'm fine with that. 2 more, right? So RickySanchez@gmail.com. Hi, Spike. This came from Catherine. Hi, Spike, Mike, and CJ. I was at a friend's 30th birthday party in the Catskills this weekend and didn't watch the Hawks game. Checking the box score with a friend, I drunkenly misread Furkan's minutes 16 as his points scored 2. As I whooped for joy, my friend took me by the shoulders and corrected my mistake, telling me firmly, it's over. A deep wave of sadness washed over me. We sure had some good times with Furkan Korkmaz, didn't we? How could you not root for that guy? As his useful tenure with the Sixers wanes, I was wondering if you guys have any favorite Furk moments. I have 2. One is the game winner at Portland a few years back, right? The Horford year.
That is mine. Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. And I think that took them to 4-0. I think it was a Friday or Saturday night. I remember because I was in LA with my brother. That one. And then Mike and I were supposed to interview him at the Sixers facility. And Mike got a tummy ache, and I had to go myself. And Furk was wearing these giant Crocs, and was obviously scared to death to talk to me because I don't think he knew why anybody wanted to talk to him, but he was very sweet during the interview. Non-basketball question from Catherine. There was a talent show component to his birthday party. Do you have any special talents you would perform in a setting such as this? CJ, do you juggle or something? Do you have any talents you would do at a talent show?
No, I don't think so. I should probably work on getting something like that, though.
Yeah.
For this exact example.
In case you're at Furkan Korkmaz's birthday party.
Yeah. What about you?
I don't think I have any. Not a good singer. I can play guitar, but I don't think that is a talent show skill. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so. And then final email. Hey, from Michael. Hey, Spike. Today's New York Times ran a story on how food delivery drivers are struggling. They mentioned in passing that a guy in the story received a $130 tip from Doc Rivers. Look, we've had our problems with Doc over the years. At our live show, we had somebody perform a diss track about him, but much respect to anybody who overtips. My position on tipping is that over-tipping means more to them than it costs you. Like anybody who's doing 17% rather than 20, you know what I mean? Like what are you doing? Tip everybody who, if you think you might have to tip somebody, you should tip them, and you should always tip a little bit more than you think you should. That's all. If you think it's supposed to be $7 and you give them 10, you make their day. Make their day. So much respect to Doc Rivers and his $130 tip. Though I don't know if it evens out everything. You know, thanks to Keith McPherson for coming on the pod, previewing Sixers Nets. Good luck tomorrow with your lovely wife and your new son. We're all cheering for you. It's funny as I will share this. I'm sure Keith, as confident as Keith was now, Keith was not so confident the first couple of months. Not quite, but it's good to see him. Good to see him so excited. Keith is going to be a great dad. So congratulations, Keith. And let's hope this series ends in 4, 5, or 6, as Game 7 being on my wife's birthday would be problematic. Be really probably, especially if they lost. Oh my God. Live Ricky 5 will be on YouTube on Saturday at 11 a.m. It'll be a YouTube premiere, just like we did for Tobias Harris. It'll be very exciting. Turned out great. Great job, CJ, in the editing, even though I haven't seen it. Great job in your producer role for Live Ricky 5, your first producer role for Live Ricky. Weekly meetings. I saw you cancel. I saw you turn down the weekly meeting.
I was excited to do that because I noticed that you did the unlimited. We had a weekly meeting for Live Ricky planning every Monday at 8.
Yep.
And Spike just did a recurring theme, so I'd go check my calendar for like July of this year, and I'm like, "Fuck, I got a meeting on Monday," so I was excited to cancel all this.
Yep, canceling meetings is the best feeling, man. Taking something off your schedule, holy fuck! And as much as I like those meetings because they were good for me, a lot of it was me just running through things through my head, and CJ sort of like checking all of those things. Every Monday, even though I wanted to do the meeting, I was just like, "Oh my God." So we will see you on Saturday, and then the post-game pod right at the game at 1, post-game pod with Adam Lefkoe right afterwards. We will we'll talk to you then. Are you down with TTP?
Yes, lick face.